It has been almost 1 year since I've uploaded a video to my scripting and obby in Roblox series, so I decided to upload another one. In this series, I script my own ideas into my Roblox obby, as well as take suggestions from you guys in the comments. Usually this series is strictly shorts, but since this is a longer video, I can show the entire process. The first suggestion is to add a Lego Batman level. This fits into my game well because in a previous video, I added a viewer suggestion, which was to add the mini kits from Lego Batman, which are basically collectible items. So for the level, I started by building a simple map with an arcade machine and a gate. My idea was for the player to punch the arcade machine explodes, and then from the parts, they build a lever. Once they pull the lever, enemies come out and they have to fight them. Now that I had a map, I needed the ability to punch. I started by animating 3 punch animations, and then I started scripting a combo system. How the combo system works is that if you press the attack button within 0.3 seconds, the combo will continue. But if you don't, then the combo will reset. Next, I had to add collisions to the punches to detect what you punched. For this, I used ray casting, which is a form of hit detection that is like shooting a laser. So I made it so that it shoots a ray forward from the player's torso. Then I made it so that if the ray intersects with a punchable object, then it'll fall apart and explode. Then after 3 seconds, it'll disappear and the model where you can build will appear. Now that you can punch the model and make it explode into parts, I had to make it so that you can build. So I animated a build animation and began scripting. I made it so that whenever you press the build key, it'll shoot another ray from your torso to the floor, and if it intersects with a part that is used for defining the zone where you can build, then it'll start building the model. When you build the model, the code will loop through all the parts used for building and creates an object called a tween for each part. Tween objects are basically an easy way to animate parts without writing complex code. So for this, I created 2 tweens, one for moving the object to the correct position, and one for moving the object to the original position. This is so that if a user cancels the build, it can revert to the original position. Once the model is fully built, I made it shoot out Lego studs and create a proximity prompt in the lever. I also wanted an animation for pulling the lever just like the Lego games, so I had to animate again. When animating the lever animation, I placed a copy of the lever model in front of the rig I was using for animation. This makes it really easy to animate without having to guess where the lever will be during the animation. When you do this though, you need to make sure when you play the animation in game that the player's character is in the same position relative to the lever as when you animated it. Otherwise, the player's arms will not be positioned correctly. So when you interact with the proximity prompt, I force the player to walk over to the lever, then the animation plays and the gate opens. Then 3 enemies walk out. I wanted the enemies to be like the ones in the Lego games, so I scripted them to where only one of them will fight you at a time, and the others that aren't fighting you will just stand around you. Then once all the enemies are dead, you proceed through the gate and you move on to the next level. This one isn't a suggestion, but I had to come clean. I never added code that would move you on to the next level after the stage where you got pulled over and kindly handed the cop your license and registration. I had only made this section work for the video, so for the sake of making my obby fully playable, I began scripting. But keep in mind, this game is multiplayer. I had scripted it an entire map system so that when the player enters the bar, it creates a copy of the bar map specifically for that player that is spaced really far away from the main obby in order to simulate the game being single player. But I had to delete it because there's a feature in Roblox where you can have several places under one universe. Which sounds confusing, but it's the same exact thing as the map system I had scripted, but you're in a different server. I started off by going to the Asset Manager tab and adding a place to the universe. I set the player limit for the place to 1 player, then I began copying assets from the original place over to the new place. I copied the map, the code for the truck, the cop, cinematic mode GUI, and the networking code. After I copied all the code over, I made sure everything worked, and it didn't, so I began fixing it. Because in the old system where each player had their own bar map, I had written a function to set up the map when it loads. So I took this code out of the module script it was in and put it into a server script that runs one time when the server starts. After I fixed all the code for the bar, I had to fix the code for going outside. Because in my old code, I created a separate map for the outside, but because this place is isolated from the main obby, I just made it all load at once. After that, I made the truck brake faster because its brakes were really slow. Then I made it so that once you shoot the cop, it'll teleport you back to the main obby and move you up a stage. The next suggestion is to add a level where you can't beat it without favoriting the game. This is a good idea, and thanks to Roblox's new feature where you can prompt users to favorite the game, this is entirely possible. I had already scripted a system on the server for running code when a user reaches a certain level, so all I had to do was fire a remote event telling the client to force the player to favorite. Once the client receives this event, it'll prompt the user for access to their inventory so the game can check whether they already have the game favorited or not. If they don't have the game favorited, it'll repeatedly prompt them until they press yes to favoriting the game. And this is the final result. If you hit cancel, it'll repeatedly prompt you until you hit OK. Then you're prompted to favorite, and it won't go away until you hit yes. This suggestion was a great feature. It goes perfectly with the stage that you can't beat unless you purchase Roblox Premium. If you guys want to develop features like the ones I've added to my game, I currently do coaching in my Discord server. Join my Discord in the description and go to the enroll channel so you can develop advanced features for your game. Thank you guys for your suggestions. If you want to watch the short version of this video, it's also in the link in the description. If you guys have any more suggestions or any questions, leave them in the comments below. Later.